The extended lockdowns are taking a toll on many of you, especially parents. Lisa Giovannetti is an integrative psychotherapist at Sutter's Institute for Health and Healing. So what does an integrative psychotherapist do?
I'm a mental health therapist on an integrative health team. And integrative health means we're looking at mind, body, spirit. And I'm working on a team of practitioners where we look at, acupuncture, the lens of acupuncture, the lens of chiropractic, the lens of functional medicine, and mental health all together when looking at how do we achieve wellness.
What are parents asking you about these days, and what are you hearing most often?
Yeah, so it is a really stressful time. And one of the things we're seeing with parents is that they're first having to manage really big emotions. So their own emotions, also helping their kids manage their emotions, and then trying to learn how to effectively respond to the emotions of significant others and coworkers. All of this while trying to also project manage, work, home, and school tasks. And so what we're finding is, normally if we had that amount of stress or crisis, we would turn to certain people, we would turn to certain coping skills, and during a pandemic, those might not even be available. So this is really adding to a sense of overwhelm and a sense of fatigue, especially as this drags on and we don't know an end. So a lot of times that's what people are coming to talk about or explore, and also just to receive validation about, right? Sometimes we feel very alone when we feel overwhelmed, and it in part is just to kind of say, hey, this is normal right now.
The concept of a work-life balance it's basically been thrown out the window. So how can parents get a handle on everything?
Yeah, so I would say the very first thing is acknowledging that we're not going to be able to do it all. So as we were kind of just saying, hey, we have less resources, we have more demands. And so expecting that we could perform the way that we did before the pandemic, it wouldn't be fair. So one of the things we look at is what are compassionate expectations or goal setting? What can I actually achieve in a day? And a strategy we might use to do that is to identify as a family, what are our values or what is important in a moment where we're trying to make a decision where we know I'm not going to be able to do it all. So what do I prioritize? An example that might be if I have a child who does not want to be doing homework and I'm feeling like I'm going to do this challenge and this struggle, I'm going to get in it with them, they need to get homework done. I might take a second to say, well, what's the value of homework? If it's learning, is there another way that I could just adjust that today is hard and I'm going to try to engage them in another way of learning, such as having them help me cook in the kitchen, and then we'll try again tomorrow. If we can kind of imagine a scenario might be happening right now where someone is having stress at work, deadlines, other things, and then they go to try and interact with their child and maybe they are not as patient and they're frustrated and maybe they kind of snap a little bit at them. What do we do, right? And so one of the things we want to do is make sure that doesn't continue to snowball. Is there a way that we can kind of pause before the dominoes all go down the line? And so we want to take a moment first just to pause and recognize and take a deep breath. We also want to acknowledge bad days are going to happen, ruptures in relationship are going to happen. That's a part of life. It's also expected in a really stressful time. And so knowing that, how can we move forward a little bit compassionately? Yeah, this is hard. And then think about, is this an opportunity where I can role model for my kids' coping skills? I would argue that's one of the biggest things we're teaching kids right now is what to do with chronic stress, what to do with anxiety and fears. So taking a moment and saying, okay, can I role model some of this? So apologizing if I need to apologize for acting in a way that doesn't feel great. And then saying, hey, I'm noticing I'm feeling really tense right now and my breath is shallow. I wonder if I need to take some breaths or go for a walk. And you might even engage your kids. I know you've been asking me about taking that online yoga class. Maybe tonight would be a good day to do that. So really helping them learn this can happen and be cued in the body. And so how do we do things to take care of our body?
And what does burnout look like for kids, teens, and adults?
Yeah, I mean, if we thought about burnout in an organization, it's when we have more demands than we can possibly get done. It's when we have role confusion. What are the things I'm actually responsible for? And it's also when we're not being acknowledged or feel recognized for what we're doing. So it's easy to see that in a time like this, we could put a lot of pressure on ourselves. This is what people should be doing. We could just see more and more demands coming on and not recognizing, like we were saying, there's not enough time to complete them all. And so one of the things we could see is people, becoming disengaged, right? Not wanting to try. If kind of I'm doing all this work and no one sees it, I might say, well, forget it, right? I'm not going to take out the trash because it doesn't matter anyways. You just kind of get mad at me for all these other things, right? And so, one of the ways that we can cope with that is by doing things like, acknowledging the efforts people are making and seeing again if we can set fair expectations and that we can see that we're getting things done in a day. So if we have a fair list, then we feel better and less burnt out. We're saying like, yeah, I'm accomplishing, I'm feeling like I have an effect in the world that's positive.
So what can parents do to mentally gear up for facing working from home and the school year all at the same time?
Yeah, so anyone working with children, I believe, would say structure is important and routine is important. So during this time of uncertainty and when things are unpredictable, it's probably even more important that it's something that we have control over and that we feel a sense of predictability and structure from, right? That being said, what's a little bit different about this time is we might have to be more flexible. So for instance, trying to plan out what your week is going to look like when everything is changing on a daily basis might not be very helpful. We might have to look at what can we get done in this day. So if I have a work meeting and I'm balancing it out and the help that we thought fell through, like how am I dealing with that on a daily basis? The other thing is much like we would do in any organization, are we having time to communicate and talk about how it's going? So having a space to say, hey, we as a family need to get these certain things done. What ideas do people have? How did we do? What were barriers? What got in the way? And really, like we were saying with that burnout, honoring all the many things that are happening in a day and all the ways that people are still contributing. So I know that today was a stressful day and I really appreciate that you still helped with dishes. We set this goal as a family, we're going to do this and we did it, right? So really looking at ways to help people feel recognized so they don't feel as burnt out or start to have resentments.
Anything else to share?
Yeah, I just want to say that if people are having a hard time or struggling, you are absolutely not alone. This is a hard time, and so that makes sense to feel that way. Also, to take care of yourself and leave time. I know when there's so many demands, it can find really hard to find a time. One of the strategies I look at is if I find myself scrolling on the phone, right? I say, I could be using this time to do something, maybe to help me reduce my stress level. At the Institute for Health and Healing, we have a Facebook page with many different resources. It's free, it's accessible 24/7. It looks at things like sleep, self-compassion, nutrition, so all these different lenses. We can look at wellness right now. And that could be even something that you engage your kids to go and look at. And I think that's really important that we take time to find resources that help us with taking care of ourselves, our bodies, and looking at our wellness. And if financial stress is an object like it is for many people, knowing that there are online resources available. In fact, I was hearing about some free art classes in the East Bay, someone that's just run. And so kind of looking at that, like what is it that we can find that might help us as a family with wellness.
Lisa Giovannetti with Sutter's Institute for Health and Healing. Thanks for joining us.